So I took a stab at on chapter 3. I took a stab at sort of pulling them all together in the hope that was going to make sense. I know it's always going to look a little bit like a bit of, like a thing of spaghetti, but it still should be true. So I kind of want to just get your impressions on this and let me know. I want to start with the simple. Okay. So what I wanted to do was take a stab at taking chapter 3 and sort of breaking, sort of exploding it out, but all at once to see if it still makes sense. So basically, I wanted to see if all of these observation of thought, the 4 factors of thinking, and all the sub factors of thinking, how they would all make sense together. So, I started with, again, the example is an apple. So basically, following the sort of your model of the domains in these positions, like the physical world, the immaterial world, the world of instances, and the world of ideas. From the example of the apple, the physical world would be, it's made of molecules, it's red, it's round, those physical properties. From the immaterial world, it's healthy, it's good, any feelings that would be evoked. From the world of ideas, it is a fruit, it has appleness, like these are the ideal objects. And then from the world of instances, an apple is grown, an apple is eaten. Does this make sense, what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah.
Okay. So the contemplation of thought, like the apple concept and the fruit concept, the contemplation of the object, that I perceive the apple in the location, the thought content is that of eating. And then basically using these existing, so both the perceived content here and the thought content here, I believe exist in the world of instances, or the world of, and these exist in the material world, these exist in the immaterial world, and then these exist in the ideal world. Is this making sense, what I'm trying to do? And do you think this is accurate?
I'm not sure, just, immediately, but I kind of like the idea of what you're doing, though.
So in this way, if we can identify what the perceived content is and what domain it exists in and what domain the thought content exists in, it's very easy to know exactly, where it lives in these factors of thinking, and what factor of thinking does it live in.
Right.
So basically, I want to get then a clear definition of, what are material contents, right? Because basically, again, the light could be the thought content. I can move things around, but light is a material thing. Molecules are material things. Locations and processes are not really material things. These exist. They don't exist in the material domain. They exist in the experience domain. Right?
Right. So what you're trying to do is create an example of the chapter.
Yes, exactly. So, like I said, I think if I can get this chart accurate, I have what I need to build out the ontology for this component.
So I see what you're doing, which is, very, very interesting.
Yeah, simple example, but we could do something complex. Like ultimately, I'd like to do something complicated.
You get what I'm trying to do, and then you're working on advancing it.
Yes, yes.
So it shows we're on totally on the same page.
Which is good.
Yeah, that's that never happens to me. I get the impression I get the impression it doesn't normally happen to you either.
No, it does not.
The question would be, taking this approach, is it something that could be learned and applied to life, or is it too complicated?
Well, I think that I want to do this to make sure I understand it, right? And make sure I have a good set of examples so I can. But then, and then it will be formally defined. Then I want to formally define it. And then at that point, you should be able to have enough content then to basically, I don't want to say dumb it down, but make it simpler then.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
As scientists, we kind of go to the extreme to really nail things down.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
then when it comes to the actual application, you get much later version of it that, like you say, is really dumbed down and easy to apply.
Yes.
But as a scientist, we need to be operating out of the core, which then we can, expand out on.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I see that we would need, well, basically, this is just basically what I've been talking about.
Yeah, just going down to the detail level. Confirm that confirm that I understand it and that it can be applied. And then, like I said, the next step, once I'm satisfied with this, I'm then going to formalize it and then make sure that it's all formalized in an ontology. And then from that point, we should be able to dump it. Like basically, we'll have a lot of content to dump.
What I'm going to have to do is work with this by myself and try to sort through it all. I was thinking about, okay, if I put a video out on this, what would I call it? How do we explain to anybody what we're trying to do?
We're trying to refine. I view it as a refining process. We're refining whatever content it is. For this, it's the philosophy of freedom. We're refining it down to its like essential properties and definitions, for many purposes. So it can be clearly communicated so that it can be applied more easily. And ultimately, for the benefit of, for the benefit of people using it, but it's a process of refining, defining, and listing out its essential properties so that we truly know what we're talking about.
And going into detail on the relationships between the thoughts.
Exactly. Yes.
That's something that normally isn't done.
And so much information is held in those relationships. I feel like that's where a lot of people, where things start clicking, is in those relationships.
So what would a title be?
Title.
If I were to do a series of videos, I mean, what would kind of be the theme in the title that would be kind of consistent?
Well, what we're doing is we're building out an ontology of the philosophy of freedom, or an ontology of thought. You could say it like that. It's actually kind of interesting. Ontology of thought.
Can there be an ontology of ethics?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been looking for a useful one for a long time. I haven't been able to find one.
So maybe
would be amazingly valuable.
What about an ontology of knowing?
Yeah, that would be amazing too.
I mean, the part one of the philosophy of freedom could be we're working on an ontology of knowing, and then part two, an ontology of ethics.
Love it. Again, I've never really seen ontology applied to philosophy, which is interesting because it came from philosophy.
Yeah, we may find out why it's never been applied to philosophy. It's probably because of the problem with philosophy that it tends to be kind of vague.
It is vague. It's very difficult to define things. The philosophers are resistant to it, I think.
But the philosophy of freedom is based on
scientific approach.
it's based on introspective observation of real things
Mhm.
that can be verified.
Yeah.